Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, hey, hey. Here we are again to bring you the magic and miracles that are possible in your life to become unleashed and unstoppable. And today we are bringing you the 5-star points to be unleashed and unstoppable, which are 5 A's. And these are going to give you some really solid tips to unlock, unleash, unstop, unlimit, and just really go for it in your life. Right, Alex?
Oh, yeah. I love it, because Carol and I were talking about how we've been speaking quite a lot lately on different stages and different communities. And we somehow got this alignment of all these A's that came to us, and really looking at, the awareness, acknowledgement, alignment, anchoring, and application. So we're looking at leaders and looking at what is really coming up for leaders in today, and what is stopping them, what's burning them out, what's holding them back. We really came up with this sort of model, as we were going back and forth with the star. We just love the idea of like the symbol of the star, because you can connect with that and see that, and use what we'll introduce you to today to really guide you in the next decision that you get to make as a leader.
You are a star, you matter. And guiding you in the next decision you get to make as a leader, and really, walking into who you fully are, where you've been successful, high achiever. You have maybe walked in leadership. You're certainly attracted to it if you're here with us. And we're all leaders. We're leading our lives every day. Being able to take an acronym in the shape of a star, because you are a star, to help you remember who you are and all that's possible for you. And so diving into awareness, we really lean into looking at what comes up for you. What are those negative internal chatter voices that are in your head, those limiting beliefs as are commonly known, and looking at those, right? Not pushing past them, not hustling past them, not just trying to shift in the moment. You can get to a place where you will be able to shift in a moment, but this is really about recoding, reprogramming. And you can't reprogram what you don't know is happening.
Well, and as we know, right, like every 90 to 97% of our daily actions and decisions are automated. We're not even aware of it. And that's why we lean into awareness, especially when it comes to most time where it's going to show up is when you get to make a decision. Because as leaders, we know we get to make a lot of decisions. And I know for myself, it always brings back to, it was the moment I needed to make a decision that created this breakdown where I started to learn about what was going on in my brain. So taking a situation, taking an opportunity to make a decision, whether you're, to do this or do that, it's in the decision process that you most likely will become aware of any inner critic, any negative self-talk, anything that, I'm not good enough, the limiting beliefs, the things that are showing up that are stopping you. Because once you can identify that and connect and just be aware of like, okay, where's my brain keeping me safe? You then can move to the next steps and move through the process and just acknowledge that, which is the second step of that. This is normal. And this, we look at trying to avoid the burnout, try to avoid the hustle and grind and pushing that heavy boulder up a mountain. All that resistance comes from trying to push through. But when you can just say like, okay, my brain is just keeping me safe. And I'm, I know for me, a lot of times the comparinitis, right? Comparing myself to somebody else, feeling that imposter syndrome. We can just identify that and are aware of that and acknowledge what's happening. It makes things so much easier as you go to the next step.
Yeah. And, just the fact, decision-making and starting to take action in any new area. This is when those limiting beliefs are going to arise out of your subconscious, and having an awareness of them, particularly writing them down, you're going to bring them from the subconscious into the conscious mind, where you can actually reprogram and recode. And acknowledging, second A, the power within us, right? Mm-hmm. Acknowledging that we have the limiting beliefs. Now, what we focus on grows. And we're not talking about focusing on your limits. This is for a very specific purpose, for the awareness and the acknowledgement of this, so that you can step into your power. Acknowledge that you are a powerful being, and knowing that you have these limits, your brain's working like it's supposed to, which you can listen to our other episodes on this, and then really leaning into the fact that you have way more power than you realize, and you have tools available to you.
And it puts you back in the driver's seat, right? Once you can acknowledge what's happening, you are now back in control. You now get to decide on those next decisions and next actions that you get to take. And so it's empowering to know that you can, instead of, the subconscious running up to 97% of your daily actions, decisions, it brings it back to the conscious, which puts you back in the driver's seat, puts you back in control. And now you're like, okay, brain, I got this. And you can consciously make those next action steps.
It's so powerful and important to be able to do that. And that really leads us right into the third A, which is alignment. Mm-hmm. And being aligned is really knowing who you are, standing grounded in who you are. And Alex, Leanne, and I both do this deep identity work with our clients. And a part of that process is knowing what your values are. What are you operating by? Because you're not just operating from faulty coding, you're operating from good coding as well. And that a lot of times, if you go back and look at your childhood, you'll notice things that you are really believe as a value, that are core to you, that are really important to you. What are your top 5? And there are other ways to get into alignment as well, but that one is really key. And part of just going through the process of knowing who you are, this is where a mentor and a guide really helps, because so many of us haven't defined these things. I thought I knew who I was, but it wasn't until I went through the defining process of it that I went, oh, wow, I have these superpowers. This is how I define success. This is who I am and what's important to me. And I now know, just like you know, Alex, who you are, I am a loving, giving, powerful leader. And I operate in that manner because it's who I am. And that's what's so important about alignment.
And there's a lot of aspects to alignment. Sometimes we just think, okay, it's values or it's vision, but it's a combination of multiple things that come together to look at what's important to you. We find a lot of times, a lot of women that we work with are oftentimes living life based on somebody else's vision, based on what somebody else wants for them, based on other people's expectations, based on the shoulds and the have tos and the feeling of pressure of what's going on outside. And then easily become disconnected of what's really important. Now, I often speak into, when you're looking at, performance, is that you want to have the mind and the heart connection to then, go out there and produce and create. But when you're living out of alignment, this is where more resistance happens. This is where that's the boulder again. You feel like you're hustling, you feel like you're grinding, because it's not easy. It becomes hard because you are operating in one way, but yet deep down, that's not really truly what your body really wants to be experiencing. And I mean, guilt. I hear that a lot of times, right? From a lot of women, they experience that. And that's where that's coming from. Whenever you're experiencing a lot of emotion, usually that's coming from the fact that your body knows it more than you might know it logically, that you're living out of alignment with what's really important to you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like being really clear on who you are, being clear on what's important to you.
Yeah.
Being clear on where you're heading, what you're going, and then just being grounded in that intention every day really can shift things for you and can help release any of the pressure, any of the tension, any of the, I think the grit, right? Like the things that just that the emotions that are oftentimes swarming around you, like the anxiety as well.
Yeah.
That is happening around you because you really aren't truly in alignment with what you know is important to you.
It's so true. And, we teach principles. You teach principles of productivity, and I teach principles of wealth. And when you operate by principles that are existent in nature, in alignment with your values, that it really is where the magic and the miracles happen. It's where the breakthroughs happen. And those parts are so exciting, when you're really walking in that, which leads us into our fourth point on the star, which is anchoring. And there are different ways to look at anchoring. Alex, you mentioned earlier that it's like being grounded. I was looking at anchor as the people we're surrounded by, the communities we're in. And one of the reasons that is an anchor for me in particular, for you as well, for all of us, is because we're energetic beings. And when you're surrounded in a community of people who are up-leveling alongside you, it's an energetic shift. It really is. And then in addition to that, if you are really wanting to get to here, you're at this level and you're wanting to go to this level, putting yourself around the people who are at that level is so important, because you just absorb things literally, quantum science wise, energetically in that situation. And Alex, I know you have a lot to say about what operating alone, a lone wolf, as we call it, looks like.
Well, yeah, I mean, Carol, you and I know we have been there with the lone wolf piece, and we've then got into rooms, been surrounded by other like-minded individuals like ourselves. It's helpful because you now realize you're not alone. However, there's also using the power of the room. And when you've operated for such a long time as that lone wolf, feeling like you're alone, right? Leadership is lonely at the top.
Yeah.
You can be in the room, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're really using it. And I say using it in a positive way, like as a community to lift each other up and to support each other.
Right.
And a lot of times it goes back to stories of needing to prove your worth, prove that you can do this, prove that you can go at it all alone, right? Like, we often hear that people wear burnout as a badge of honor because of what it took for them to create that. But is that really a way of living? Like, is that really how you want to feel and what you want to be experiencing? Yeah. So it's embracing the community and seeing all the gifts that you're surrounded by. Carol, you mentioned a little bit earlier about, really being in your zone of genius and really looking at what your gifts are, and then entering that room and sharing your gifts, getting that support, right? Holding, not only just hold the people around you up in their vision, but then also allowing other people to hold you up too in your vision, right? It's that give and take. It's that exchange of love and guidance. And that a term I've been using a lot is a collective. It's a collective. It's a community. It's a collective where you all work together.
There's collective wisdom.
Yeah. And so being comfortable with not needing to know everything, because walking in the room, being curious and not being afraid to ask for help. Not being afraid to really turn to somebody else who is an expert to lean in on them and for them to share their wisdom. And I know that this is something I was very guilty about, like feeling like I needed to always be the expert in the room, that everybody needs to come to me. And I also get to embrace other people's expertise. And I also get to ask questions, and I also get to be curious. And I think that's really, really powerful for leaders. I mean, we recorded a podcast earlier today with Judith, and what she shared about is that leaders, tell me about wording it, like how leaders, they get to learn. Leaders
don't actually get to stay curious, get to grow, get to learn. It's a growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
Versus a fixed mindset, referring to Carol DeWick's book, and which I recommend. It's so important, isn't it? So important. I agree wholeheartedly how being surrounded, and here's the thing, when you are investing in yourself, invest in those communities that provide that kind of environment and atmosphere. Because for me, that was life-changing, going through some of the programs that I have gone through and being surrounded by people like Alex Leanne and being able to work alongside you, with you in this, and going through the leadership that we've gone through, and the massive amounts of support. We don't even realize the level that we're operating isolated and alone. So I really urge you to evaluate, talk to the people, the programs that you're jumping into. What's your culture like? What's your community like? What are the interactions that happen? Because it is critically important when we're wanting to be anchored and not having to do everything by ourselves and being connected, right?
Being open for support, was another thing that when we were mapping these out today, that my brain also went to, especially when we look at productivity, right? Producing. Well, we know that delegation is powerful. And yet, if we're so used to operating alone and doing things all by ourselves and having stories and beliefs about trusting other people. Yeah. What I loved about inserting the anchoring piece about the community piece was not just about the people that we're surrounding with, but also having the automatic to think about who else can support me, like, and how can I delegate this, and who might be able to do a better job than I am. So starting to think about that automatically as you're looking at, again, making decisions and what you're doing, where can you enroll support? Yeah. Where can you go to also see somebody else's expertise? And what rooms are you in that you can make life easier and simpler and be surrounded by that energy and people that see it in you and see the possibility. There is unfortunately so much negative energy out there. Yeah. Not to mention the way our brains are wired with the negativity bias, with us being already 9 times more negative on ourselves. Yeah. So really be able to immerse yourself into communities that really lift you up, hold you high, and are standing for you. I mean, this is the power of being coaches, right? Is that we see your vision. So then being part of a collective that also see your vision for you too, and help you get out of your own way when, your brain is doing its job, keeping you in the same. When we're in that resistance,
when you have somebody that believes in you, when you're struggling temporarily in that moment to believe in yourself, and we've spoken on brain resistance elsewhere, it's really important to have that, to say, I see you, you can do this, this is possible. And not only that, but you receive that energy that they believe in you. And I think that it's really important to remember that being surrounded by the people who are where you want to go, being in proximity, it is so incredibly valuable. And the most successful people in the world that I have learned from, listened to, spoken with, have been clients, they really lean in and do this. They put themselves in the rooms. And there are multiple ways to do that, right? So anchor yourself with those around you who are going to support you in getting to where you want to go, getting to your next level.
And then that leads us into the last step of this, which is the application, is the taking action, is now ensuring, being aware of the brain, what's happening, getting clear on really what's important to you. Are you in alignment? Anchoring yourself with the community, with the support, and then applying, taking action, taking those steps to get to that next place, to get to that next level. But know that you don't have to go out it alone. You have people that are supporting you, back you up, right? Cheerleaders in your corner. And it just gets to be such a more enjoyable process and journey, because you're not needing to go about it alone. And these really are the secrets of being unleashed and unstoppable. It's not about going at it alone. It really is being part of that community, acknowledging where you're at, acknowledging your brain for doing its job, for keeping you safe, right? And looking at taking the things that you hear us talk about week after week and going and applying it.
That's it, isn't it? We can sit and learn all day long, but it's really in getting out there and taking the action where your star begins to shine. Your gifts become unwrapped. And there are people out there that are specifically meant to hear from you. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a corporate leader, if you are a coach, whatever place in life you are doing, a celebrity, it is so important for you to know that there are people who need to hear your voice specifically. Your gifts are meant to be unwrapped and applied. And this is the part where we really get to lean into courage, right? In the application process. And having that community, like knowing that we are in alignment, knowing that we've acknowledged that we have power, and being aware of what is holding us back so that we can recode it and reprogram it. Those are the 5 A's. Those are the 5 star points that can help you to become unleashed and unstoppable and share your gifts with our world.
And it's a continuing process of showing up, right? It's a continuing process of taking the risk. And it's a continuing process of really looking at those 5 A's, because as you step into making a bigger impact, making a bigger difference, lead change, right? Your brain is always going to be doing its job, trying to keep you safe. And where you want to go is somewhere you most likely haven't been before. So you're going to experience that brain resistance. But that's why we are so passionate about really helping you be aware of that, of just like the awareness piece, and then acknowledging my brain is just doing its job. You know, I think, Carol, we've talked in some previous episodes where we celebrate the brain resistance because it's a sign that we're leveling up. I've said that to my clients multiple times whenever they experience a resistance, whenever they experience self-doubt, to actually celebrate it, because it means they're playing a bigger game.
It means you're doing the work. Yeah. You're applying. So we have enjoyed being here with you today, haven't we, Alex Leanne? We always love bringing you the information to help you in your leadership from a neuroscience perspective, and really to lean in and help you to be unleashed and unstoppable. So
I just want to recap what we dove into, and then invite the listener, next time you're presented with a situation, next time you've noticed that resistance, just be aware of that, right? Write it down, as Carol said. Acknowledge it is your brain just keeping you safe. Check in with yourself. Are you in alignment? Because that's where potential that resistance can be coming from, is that you're out of alignment with what's important to you. Then anchor yourself. Look for support. Look for community. Reach out to your mentor. Reach out to your coach. And then get into the application, get into the process. And something that came to me a little bit earlier too, you know, you and I hear this a lot by our clients. They're looking at creating more ease, right? They want to live a life more of ease. They want to remove all of the guilt and the shame and all the ickiness. They want to live a life that's just simpler and just easy, and not having to constantly deal with the psychological assessment that they're experiencing. And so getting into the habit of just going through this process will then help make that application become easier, because as you work through the process, as you acknowledge and identify what's coming up, you're allowing like the power that your brain has to be less powerful.
Yeah. And we'll do a whole episode on resistance and what that looks like and what it means as well. And it's such an important point, isn't it, Alex Leanne, to know that you're right there on the side of breakthrough and that your brain's working properly. And, just knowing that you can have the awareness, you can acknowledge that you have it and and that you have the power to change it. You can be in alignment with yourself. You can be anchored by being surrounded in strong communities and with great people, and especially have a mentor and a guide. Investing in yourself is the most valuable investment you can ever make. And then applying it and creating the reality that you want to create, right? So we've enjoyed this so much, and we look forward to bringing you amazing information next week. And we appreciate so much the amazing reviews you're sending us and the subscribing and downloading and sharing it with people. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode, and we'll see you guys, everyone, next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review, and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.